Hello students, myself Dr. Shubh Arora. I welcome you all once again back to the lecture series of the subject Marketing Management. We are on the very first unit of this subject and today is the fifth lecture, and in this lecture we will be covering the topics marketing environment, which includes internal and external environment and micro and macro environment. So let's first talk about the term marketing environment. What do we exactly mean? See, when a business exists in the market, there are certain factors, there are certain aspects who are related to the business. Some aspects or some elements are internal to the organization and some are external. Some exist in the internal environment of an organization and some elements or aspects exist in the external environment of an organization. Right. So when we talk about the internal factors, these include employees, customers, shareholders, distributors, retailers, etc. Right. On the other hand, when we talk about the external factors, these include the political, legal, social, economic, technological, all these factors which prevail in the external environment of the organization and put an impact from the external world. So basically both internal and external environment put an impact or affect the working of the organization. So therefore, when any organization is doing business, the people sitting at the top level or the middle level or the lower level, whosoever are involved in running that business or whosoever is contributing for that business, specifically the top management has to take care about the different elements who affect the or put an impact on the working of the business, both internal elements as well as external elements which prevail in the internal environment as well as in the external environment, right? So some of the factors are controllable whereas some are uncontrollable. This means that there are certain factors which can be controlled or directed by the organization or directed by the people who are working in the organization, whereas there are certain factors or aspects which are not under the direct control of an organization. Here you can see in the figure how they have depicted the marketing environment. So the innermost layer is the marketing environment. After the when we talk about the marketing environment, that is when the business is surrounded by the marketing environment, the first layer comes is the internal environment. And what did we study in the previous slide? That internal environment comprises of the factors like employees, customers, shareholders, retailers, distributors, etc. Then next to the internal environment is the external environment. And when we talk about the external environment, there are certain micro factors and macro factors which are beyond the control of an organization. So let's first talk about the internal environment. It includes all those factors which affects the business, right? And affects the business as well as the operations of the business or the activities of the business. And these internal marketing environments include like labor, inventory, that is the stock, the policies of the company, how much money to be affected or how much money to be invested, how much money to be invested or how much money to be spent on different activities or what kind of investment would be more fruitful. And then talking about the logistics part, the assets part, these all put a direct effect on the various decisions related to marketing, right, and building relations with the customers, right? So these factors which prevail in the internal marketing environment can be controlled by the firm or the business. Whereas on the contrary, if we talk about the external environment, this includes, I just told you in previous slide where we were seeing the different layers of the marketing environment. There in the external environment, it was divided into two parts, micro environment and the macro environment, right? So basically when we define external and marketing environment, it can be said that all those factors or forces which are external to the business world or external to the business right? So they are no long under the control of the business. And now the external environment can be divided into two parts, micro and macro. When they define the micro environment, it includes all those factors which are associated with the operations of the business and put a direct impact on the functioning of the business. So micro environment includes the factors like customers, employees, suppliers, retailers, distributors, shareholders, government, etc., right? Then when we talk about the micro environment in detail, the first is the customers. Now how customer puts an impact on the working of the organization? Customer puts an impact on the working of the organization in this way that every marketer or every marketing activity of an organization has to be designed or has to be implemented in such a way based on the analysis done by the organization, and that analysis has to be based on the customer needs and wants. What does the customer wants, needs, prefers, demands, right? Because ultimately customer is the king. And here the marketer, while producing something, that has to be produced totally based on what customer wants, right? So each strategy has to be customer oriented, and this strategy is being framed by the firm. So it has to be customer oriented. Every approach has to be towards making the customer happy and satisfied, right? Second is employees. See, employees are the backbone of a business. If employees are efficient, give their performance, are motivated, highly motivated, are happy working with your organization, they will give you up to the mark performance. They will work efficiently and effectively. They might come up with good ideas, with good tactics, with good strategies. They might try to use best of their capabilities and skills, right? So employees need to be happy, need to be satisfied by an organization, because they carry a lot of contribution in the success of the organization. So from time to time, employees need to be motivated, given time to time required or necessary training. Various training sessions should be given to them. Motivational speakers or motivational talks or series should be conducted in the organization to keep the motivation high, the spirit of work high in the in your employees, right? Okay, now we come to the third part of micro environment, that is the suppliers. Now who are suppliers? Suppliers is very clear by the term. Suppliers are the people from whom the organization purchases the material or the raw material from the back end, because every organization who needs to produce a finished product requires some kind of raw material, requires to acquire some kind of resources from the back end. So from that back end, the support or the resources required is supplied by suppliers. So therefore you need to have good suppliers, and a business needs to maintain good relations with the suppliers, right? Because suppliers play a very crucial part in the working of your organization, right? Okay, and now we come to the fourth point, that is the micro environment, that says retailers and distributors. So when we talk about retailers and distributors, basically retailers and distributors also again play a very significant role in the working or the success of your organization's marketing activities, because these retailers or distributors come in direct contact with the customers, and customer is lying in the market. So a producer cannot come in contact with the customers directly very easily, whereas the retailers and distributors can easily come, because the retailers and distributors are the touch points of the customers, right? So through retailers and distributors, you as an organization, as a producer, you can directly get the ideas or the advices from time to time that in your product which you are producing and supplying in the market, what kind of changes can be done, or what are the suggestions, or what are the views of the customers regarding the products or services which you are selling in the market, right? So because retailers and distributors come in direct contact with the customers. So again here it becomes very important that retailers and distributors play a very significant role. So business and the firm has to maintain good relations with the retailers and distributors for expanding the business, for the growth of the business, and for adding some additional features or benefits in the existing products with the help or with the suggestions of these retailers and distributors. Now we come to the fifth point, That is the competitor. See, again, competitor is the competing firms who are selling same kind of complementary goods which you are selling in the market. So you need to keep a regular continuous eye on what strategy or what kind of product at what price your competitor is selling in the market, or trying to grab the attention of the customer, or is trying to distract the customer, your target customer, towards some other firm. So what are the strategies, right, which your competitors are using to win the customer attraction? Okay, now in this you can just have a look regarding, there are 4 forces, and in between lies the industry liability, right? So when we talk about the very first, that is the blue one, that is the threat of entry. See, in the center lies the industry, and in industry there are various firms. So first, there are 2 types of threats in this particular the flow chart which you can see here, and 2 bargaining powers. So when we talk about the 2 threats, one is the threat of entry. So industry every time keeps on facing the threat that who new entrants are now going to enter into the same industry, because the new entrants can be and will be the future or the probable competitors for your firm or for your business. Then the second threat is of substitutes, because since new entrants have entered into the same kind of industry, into the same kind of business what you are doing, so definitely they will be producing the same kind of products or same nature products which you are producing. So there will be a competitor in the market in which you are doing the business, right? So these are the 2 threats. On the other hand, if you talk about the 2 bargaining powers, one is the bargaining power of supplier and the other is the bargaining power of buyer. See, you need to bargain with the suppliers that the raw materials which you are trying to buy from the suppliers, how, at what best price, or at what best quotation you can buy from them, right? Because every manufacturer or every organization would like to invest minimum and retrieve maximum, right? So that is what here lies the bargaining power of suppliers. Now here suppliers can also play a game. If you are facing the advantage of monopoly, that means the seller is single, or very few sellers are there in the market, then definitely suppliers have no choice, so they will have to bargain on the price which you want them to sell you the raw materials or supply the raw materials to you. Otherwise, if there are a lot of sellers, lot of competition, then definitely suppliers will not be agreeing on the price which you want to buy the raw materials from them, because they have other firms prevailing in the market to whom they can sell the raw materials or supply the raw materials at a higher price than you, right? On the other hand, when we see the bargaining power of buyers, again, if you are the single seller or very few sellers are there in the market, the customers will have no choice. They will purchase the product at they might not be agreeing to purchase a product at a higher price, but if very few sellers are there, then definitely they will have no choice. But if there are various sellers or huge number of sellers in the market, then definitely the customers will not be ready to purchase the price which you are quoting, right? So here again we are talking about the bargaining power of buyers. So basically this diagram tells you about 4 aspects: threat of entry, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of suppliers, and bargaining power of buyers. Now let's move on to the 6th aspect of microenvironment, that is the shareholders. So if you talk about the shareholders are basically the owners of the company. So definitely business has to be done in such a way so that the shareholders' wealth can be maximized, because shareholders have a direct interest in the profits of the organization. So therefore, whatever objectives or whatever interests of the shareholders are there in the business, those interests have to be kept in mind while doing the business, because ultimately they have invested money, and from that investment, from their business, they are expecting a good return at regular intervals. Now we talk about the 7th aspect, that is the government. See, from time to time government policies, there are certain changes, like when we talk about the pricing policies or the credit policy or the educational policy, housing policy. So all these policies do keep on changing, or some kind of fluctuations or updations. Government do keeps on doing some kind of updations in these policies. So definitely these policies put an impact on your business. So you have to abide by the rules, by the updations, by the bylaws which are stated in the policies framed by the government, if you need to keep your company updated and survive in the market. So you need to keep a track with the government policies and what changes are there accordingly. So that's all for today's lecture. We have discussed about what is marketing environment, then we have discussed about internal and external, and we had started the micro part. We are done with the micro environment today. In the following lecture, that will be the lecture 6 of marketing management, we will be covering the macro environment and the consumer buying behavior process, and probably we'll be also discussing the topic industrial marketing. So that's all for today from my side. Thank you. Take care.